Right now, someone on your team is pasting a client proposal into ChatGPT. Someone else is running your financials through an AI tool you have never heard of. And at least one person is using a free AI account, which means the data they enter is being used to train someone else's model. None of this was approved. This is the CEO AI Playbook. This video is for business owners and operators who are already using AI or whose teams are, and have not yet put a written policy in place. The question this video answers is simple. What exactly should your AI acceptable use policy cover, and what does it protect you from? Because the absence of a policy is not a neutral position. It is a decision, and not a good one. Here's what is actually happening inside most small and mid-sized businesses right now. AI adoption is not being driven by a committee or a rollout plan. It is being driven by individual employees who found a tool that helps them work faster. That is not a bad thing. But it means AI is spreading through your organization the same way shadow IT did 10 years ago, informally, inconsistently, and without any guardrails. In a recent survey, more than half of employees said they use AI tools at work that their employer has not officially approved. And most of them are not trying to do anything wrong. They just do not know what is allowed. They do not know which data they can and cannot enter into an AI tool. They do not know which tools are approved. They do not know whether AI-generated content needs to be reviewed before it goes to a client. And here is the part most owners miss. If your employee does something with AI that causes a data breach, a compliance violation, or a client dispute, and you have nothing in writing, you have very little to stand on. Not with the client, not with your insurer, and potentially not in court. A written policy does not just protect you from your employees. It protects your employees from making mistakes they did not know were mistakes. So what should an AI acceptable use policy actually cover? There are 6 core sections every business policy needs. First, approved tools. The policy names which AI tools employees are authorized to use, and makes clear that anything not on that list requires approval before use. This is not about being restrictive. It is about knowing what is running inside your business. Second, data classification rules. This is the most critical section and the one most businesses skip entirely. Your policy must define what categories of data cannot be entered into any AI tool. That includes client names and contact information, financial data, health information, personally identifiable information, and anything under NDA. If your team does not know where the line is, they will cross it, not maliciously, but because no one told them. Third, output review requirements. AI gets things wrong. Your policy needs to specify that AI-generated content, especially anything going to a client, prospect, or regulator, must be reviewed by a human before it goes out. The AI does not carry the liability. Your business does. Fourth, account ownership and access. Are employees using personal AI accounts on company work? If so, who owns that account? Who owns the data in it? What happens when they leave? The policy needs to address this. Business use of AI should run through company-owned or company-approved accounts, not personal ones. Fifth, disclosure obligations. Are there situations where you need to tell a client, partner, or regulator that AI was involved in producing something? Some contracts already require it. Some industries are moving toward requiring it by regulation. Your policy should define when disclosure is required and who is responsible for making it. Sixth, violations and enforcement. A policy with no enforcement mechanism is just a suggestion. Employees need to understand what happens when the policy is violated, not as a threat, but because clarity on consequences is part of professional accountability. This does not need to be draconian, but it does need to be real. Here is where leaders get tripped up. The first mistake is waiting for a perfect policy before publishing anything. A one-page policy that covers the basics and is actually distributed is worth more than a 50-page document still being reviewed by legal. Done and shared beats perfect and pending. The second mistake is writing a policy that is so restrictive it drives usage underground. If your team cannot use any AI tool without a 3-week approval process, they will just use their personal phone on their lunch break. You will have a policy on paper and no visibility into what is actually happening. The goal is not restriction, it is visibility and accountability. The third mistake is treating this as a one-time document. The AI landscape is moving fast. A policy written today needs a review cycle, probably every 6 to 12 months, to stay current with new tools, new risks, and new regulatory requirements. Build that into the document from the start. And here's the judgment call every owner has to make. How much AI autonomy do you give your team before you have the governance structure to support it? The answer is not zero. Being paralyzed is not a strategy. But moving fast without any written guardrails creates real exposure, reputational, contractual, and regulatory. The smart move is a lightweight policy now, enforced consistently, with a commitment to build from there. Not a reason to slow down, a foundation to scale on. Here is the practical playbook. Step 1. Audit what your team is already using. Before you write a policy, know the landscape. Ask your managers, survey your team. Find out which AI tools are in active use right now, approved or not. Step 2. Classify your data. Identify your most sensitive data categories before you write a single policy line. Client data, financial records, health information, proprietary processes, list them. These become the foundation of your data rules. Step 3. Draft the 6-section policy. Use the framework from this video. Approve tools, data classification, output review, account ownership, disclosure obligations, violations. Keep it readable. A policy no one reads does not protect you. Step 4. Get legal eyes on it. This does not mean a 6-month process. It means a single review by your attorney or HR advisor to make sure you are not missing something jurisdiction-specific, especially if you handle regulated data. Step 5. Distribute it and confirm receipt. Email is not enough. Build acknowledgement into your onboarding process and distribute it to your current team with a signed receipt or a logged confirmation. If you ever need to show that an employee knew the policy existed, you need that paper trail. Step 6. Set a review date before you publish. Put a calendar reminder for 6 months out. The policy is a living document. Build that expectation in from day one. The bottom line. Your team is already using AI. The question is whether you have anything in writing that governs how. If you want a head start, we put together an AI acceptable use policy template built specifically for small and mid-sized businesses. It covers all 6 sections. It is written in plain language, and you can adapt it to your business in an afternoon. Drop policy in the comments, and we will send it your way. The link is also in the description. Policy in the comments. You do not need a 50-page document to protect your business. You need one that is real, readable, and actually in place.